Hey folks, welcome to week 7. We are officially 70% through with our class, and we are shifting gears. We're moving from rhetorical analysis to persuasive writing, specifically to academic argument. So we're no longer wedded to just one text, focusing on analyzing it. Now we get to think of a controversial issue, and we're dealing with freedom of speech, but we're looking at that controversial issue and we're taking a stand on this debatable issue. And that's essentially what we're doing whenever you engage in argument, right? You're taking a stand and you're trying to persuade or convince an audience why your stand is the correct stand to take. Sometimes I get questions about what the difference between trying to convince is and trying to persuade is. When we're convincing someone, we're trying to change what they think. When we're persuading someone, we're trying to change what they do, right? So it's not just their thinking, but actually their actions. So for our paper, should we or should we not limit freedom of speech on campus, right? You're trying to change what people think, but you're in a way trying to convince them to do something different, right? So it kind of functions in both. So let's talk a little bit about more deeply about academic arguments and persuasive writing in general. For an academic argument, the tone of your essay is usually straightforward, right, and well-informed. So if you're like, well, no, we shouldn't limit freedom of speech, and you don't even do any research, and you're really, this is what I think, and I just think, well, that kind of sets it up a very opinionated tone. With an academic argument, you're trying to be pretty reasonable, and you're trying to show, okay, this is why this claim is true, right? And you use different types of research, which we'll talk about in just a bit, in order to show the efficacy or the truth behind your claim. So rather than just saying, well, it's my personal belief that we shouldn't, you can say, there are certain circumstances where we should limit freedom of speech, and here's my proof to back that up, right? So with academic arguments, there's a clear claim and clear support for that claim. And again, you try to maintain a reasonable, straightforward, level-headed tone. In terms of sources, like how do you begin to prove your points? Well, for academic research, we tend to draw on scholarly sources, which I'm going to talk about in another video, as well as primary research. Quickly, scholarly research is usually research that's found in an academic database or in the library. It's usually written by an academic or a researcher. Primary research, which you're going to have an opportunity to do, is the research and data that you have found and that you've conducted. So this could be a poll or a survey that you went out and did. This can be an interview that you went out and did. For this essay, we are doing the freedom of speech debate, a controversial issue that's really important right now. If you follow the news, it seems like, it's every other week that another campus is debating whether or not they should put restrictions on freedom of speech. So it's quite an important conversation presently. When you go about doing this essay, don't feel like you have to take just one stand, that you can't look at the other perspective. You will absolutely want to do that, and you're welcome to include a counter argument or two in your essay. It's so often I think students feel like, well, there's no other side, or if I take this stand, I can't shift at all. Well, no, you might say, well, there are certain times where we should limit freedom of speech, and there's certain times when we shouldn't, and then you could explain circumstantially when and when we should not. So don't feel like you can't address the other perspective. So there's more coming your way, but that's just a brief glimpse and overview of what an academic argument is, and a few things to think about as you begin this process.